And I think most of the times the president is misinformed. I'll tell you for a fact. One of the largest export earners for this country is gold, okay? And if you see the tax and how much money government is getting from gold, you will cry. I'll give you basic statistics. Number one, Uganda has no tax on gold. You can imagine. The largest export earner. As we speak, Uganda has pushed, if you look at the data, beyond 50 tons of gold. 1 kilo, that is 50,000 tons. That is 50,000 kilos of gold. I think it's 55 going to, and this is just what is recorded at the customs in Entebbe. What is not recorded and smuggled is a lot more. Perhaps in 100, just say 100 tons of gold has moved by now. I want you to pick the numbers. That is 100,000 kilos. Multiply by the current value of gold, 1 kilo on the world market, which is 117,000.
That is 100.
If you convert it to shillings, it is in trillions. Gold alone can finance this country's economy.
Welcome to How to Lose an Election, the podcast that breaks down political blunders like a matatu in Nairobi, a boda boda in Kampala, and a danfo in Lagos. Unpredictable, overcrowded, and occasionally on the wrong side of the road. If you've ever wondered how to turn a promising campaign into a political traffic jam, you are in the right place. From misused tons to reckless overpromising, we dissect the missteps that make elections unforgettable for all the wrong reasons.
Dear viewer, warm regards and welcome to the podcast show, which is hosted by CEPA, the Center for Policy Analysis, based here in Kampala. The Center for Policy Analysis is also the home to Parliament Watch. And you know, Parliament Watch is basically a parliamentary monitoring initiative founded in 2012 by the Center for Policy Analysis. Its mission actually is to increase transparency, accountability, and public knowledge of Parliament's work in Uganda. So basically, CEPA is a policy think tank. It's a public policy think tank based here in Kampala, and it works to foster people-centered parliamentary democracy and oversight processes more relating to accessible and participatory governance processes in Uganda here. So I am glad today that the second edition of this podcast show is featuring one of the most, I could say, vibrant youth of the time. And his name is Engineer Olanya Olenge Tonny. Tonny is actually a seasoned natural resource engineer who champions sustainable gold mining, trade, and ethical gold mining in Uganda. He promotes responsible mining practices and community development. In 2026, as an ambitious young Pan-African, he's advocating for politics of idealism and realism. So Engineer Olanya will be contesting for the Aruu North constituency seat as a member of parliament on independent ticket. Now, my name is Dominic, or you would preferably call me Cholo Donga Dominic. I am the host for this podcast show, which is called How to Lose an Election. This is the period, of course, after every 5 years, Uganda gets into the general election cycle. So this year, we are preparing ahead of 2026. But most importantly, what we want to probe today is something to do with youth and employment. So as an icebreaker, allow me first to welcome Engineer Olanya Olenge Tonny, to say hello to the viewer. Engineer Olanya, you're welcome to this show.
Thank you so much, my brother Dominic. Thank you, viewers. As you stated, I am, as you see me, a young leader in this country who is very much interested in shaping the narrative of the political landscape of this country, basing on a very, very clear understanding that young people must be at the center of decision making, And young people should not wait to be given space. Space in political control and management is not given. You must fight for your space. You must create that space. You must get there for that space. So basically, that's what we're doing. You would have wondered why we're not going for youth election and the other youth positions.
Actually, I was about to ask
you.
I
think young people have been empowered enough to handle leadership at even the adult suffrage level. That is why some of us are muscling it up with matures. Definitely, and we're doing quite well. Yes.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, dear viewer, today what we are interested in looking at is basically youth and employment in this country. Of course, the statistics are very glaring, but my interest is more on what government has been, consistently enforcing that more youth should go into pursuing science courses. And looking at you, you have just you graduated a few years ago in a very powerful science field. And my question to you would be, looking at the dynamics or the power metrics in this country, government has been betting a lot on promoting science courses. This is to create more employment, create innovation, create space for the young people to innovate. But over time, people are moving quite away, and the youth are moving quite away into politics instead of staying in the lab. Because I believe if you pursued science courses, you could be more relevant in the field of science than getting out into politics, which certainly, when you look at the trend historically, it's one of those areas that may not give you the actual, platform for you to exercise what you learned in school. So, Engineer Olanya Olenge Tonny, maybe you could bring us to speed. What is it that is attracting youth, including yourself, into politics, than being in the lab to do research work, come up with new innovations that could be more paying than politics? What is it? Let us know about this.
Actually, the concept of young people joining politics should not be debatable. Number one, we cannot have a population of over 80% young people in this country. That's a very big critical mass. And the decision makers of these young people are people who are seemingly aging. I think it is risky for a country not to empower young people to take up leadership positions right from the angles and the levels of mentorship. When you don't mentor young people for leadership position or even encourage them and give them space, you're definitely trying to stifle their space, crowd their space, and pushing them to a corner that will create, in the long run, problems that you see in other countries. Okay, you've seen the revolutions that have been sparked by young people in Nepal through what they would call Gen Zs. You've seen the situations in Kenya. Now, one of the arguments you can have why such situations are not really prominent in Uganda is because young people have been given some space, not much, some space in the politics of the country, of which we are advocating for more. So by giving them space, you're allowing them to express their views. And by expressing themselves, you're also managing some tensions that you would have not known if they had kept quiet. So I would think Uganda is doing it right, but not yet at the very best level that we as young people see it at. But it is a step in the right direction. Now, to blend it in with the fields of study that young people have captured in and the government policies to promote science and all that, yes, I think we study the science, we read through the periodic table, do the chemistry, do the physics and all that. But I'll tell you a fact. Right from the onset, our education system is I would describe it as ill structured. It is one of the systems in place that promotes neocolonialism, the thinking of the whites, the thinking of the rulers that came by. I think if we needed to really have a generation that can run the country right from the science, the arts, and those in the middle there, we needed to have restructured our education system properly well. you've seen the dilemma that they're trying to put in place. You've brought in a new curriculum, but the people to train the curriculum are not proper. Okay? You have, that's for the O level. You see the A level. Currently, there's even a whole confusion. They don't know whether they have a curriculum. So the thing starts right from institutionalizing and how they structure the systems. Our education system is a mess from the word go. I'll tell you for a fact. You spend 3 years in kindergarten, 7 more years in primary, those are 10 years. 4 years in O level.
Lower secondary education.
And then 2 years. Basically, 16 years dead. And then you're spending not less than 5 in the university. Basically 5. 21 years, still trying to find your way in. Come out of the university, you are going to spend, if you're lucky, 4 years. Trying to find a balance. 25 years of somebody's life buried in school. Who created that system? Who said we must do it that way? So for me, I think, and this is what I'm preaching right in my manifesto, I'm talking about competence-based learning. I'm not talking it at the point of Uganda having good policies for competence-based learning. And I'm happy that they've now created the TVET board, the Technical, Vocational and Educational Training Board, which is a good start. Rwanda had started it before. And I'll tell you for a fact, we had these policies in paper. Rwanda as a country picks some of these good policies and they just implement. They've been having these TVET policies and Uganda has tried to pick it up. But I'll tell you for a fact, these policies need to be decentralized to the lowest level. Currently, I'm able to train people in basic skills at the grassroots level, training young people in making soap, in making liquid soap, in making shampoo, things that is not even taught at the university. With all the chemistry that we know, they don't teach such things. We remain with it. There's a topic in chemistry called saponification, the process of making soap. And we write the chemical formula, and nothing adds up. So I'll tell you, it's a structural problem. So we should, as a country, reorganize our education system.
Now, just from where you stopped, looking at our education policies that might not seem to favor, people to think harder rather to react to situations. I mean, that's why the government came up with science as, an area of emphasis. So I would have this kind of thought that looking at what politics does to people, much of it, look at Parliament. Let me give you a good example. Actually, Parliament as an institution is one of those well-paying institutions in this country. And that's where I think many of our youth are thinking that politics could be one way out to, catapult you away from poverty, you attain that status, and you attain the wealth you want and influence. As opposed to you being in the lab thinking, because many of the countries we admire to go to, look at Japan, look at China, look at Germany, look at these other countries like France, the big spenders. I mean, they have all grown not because of politics. They grew because of innovation, science and technology. So my question would be, what is it that government has not provided for the people or for the students that it has paid in school that you think could be much attained when you join politics? Are the conditions not favorable for you to exercise?
I will tell you for a fact that we need informed decision makers. You will see how government appoints or how the president makes his appointments. You look at science fields, like in the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries. Look at Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. Look at the different ministries, Ministry of Works and Transport. We need to...
Even water and environment.
Yes, we need to appoint people who have competence, who have the knowledge, at least bare minimum. I'll tell you for a fact. Because of political appointments and because of how we've been running our politics, where we think science and arts must be separated, it has caused us problems. I'll tell you for a fact. You've seen how Uganda has been having. I want to give you context so you see why we need to have more science out of the lab and in the policy-making platform as well. You would ask yourself, I'm going to take you to the sector that has been having debate. Government has pumped in a lot of money in the oil and gas sector. But if I were government, what I would have advised, if I were in decision-making position, what I would have advised the president.
What would you say?
I would have told the president, instead of pumping more money in the oil and gas sector, first put more money in the mineral sector. Okay? Because as of now, with the geopolitics of the oil and gas sector, Uganda is currently being frustrated by the mafias in the oil sector, which is a global control that is bigger than the president, is bigger than this government. Now, such kind of hard talk will not be given by people who are there and because they don't understand the science. Or if they understand the science, they don't understand the science vis-a-vis the politics of the sector. So me who understands the science and the politics, I am more versatile and best placed to give a better directional advice to the president in this regard. Now, Uganda has been having a situation whereby every time we are having a postponement for the first oil. I'll tell you for a fact, that oil is not coming now, not tomorrow, not 2026 as they claim it will come. No.
Why?
Why? Because the president seems to be having people who have enclosed him with information. You see, when you have a science, when you have a scientist who understands the oil and gas sector from the science-based field, and then he understands the politics, he will be better placed to give you a straightforward advice. But here, you may have somebody who has done arts and is looking at only the business point of it, which is what I'm trying to say. The people that the president has placed in the ministries to guide him. And this is a clear-cut case. I will tell you for a fact. Wait and see if the first oil comes out next year. It was supposed to come in 2025. This is the 4th to 5th postponement. Second thing, in decision making, I'm giving you context so you understand why we need more people who have the science to be placed in the science field to control the politics in the science-related aspects. You can't appoint me as an engineer to run as a minister in finance. Put somebody who is credible in that field there. So I'll tell you another scenario to back my point. Take it to the aspect of the refinery, okay? The oil and gas refinery. The government got 2 different companies. This should be the 3rd, 4th company. The first company failed, the second company failed, the third company. This is now the 4th company, which is going to fail definitely still. But when you tell people in positions of leadership, they seem to think that you are from Mars. But it is not going to work. The infrastructure that was even set up for the refinery won't work. It's not feasible. Okay? This company that they've brought on board has never built a refinery anywhere in the world. They have the money, but they don't have the technical competence. But who is then advising? The president. So if you have people who don't have the stamina to tell the president that the science is backed up this way, but this is how the politics is. So make the decision. There are decisions you cannot make when you've not put the knowledge of education and the politics. You must have a balance.
Now,
so if I tell you that the people in advisory board giving the president advice that sign this deal, we are being laughed at as a country. If you see countries like Singapore, they place people with knowledge.
Okay.
They place people with knowledge in positions where they must make decisions.
Engineer Olanya, on that, let me just say this. Now, look at the appointments indeed in the different ministries. I want to give you an example. Dr. Ruth Jenna Cheng. She's competently appointed as the Minister of Health. That is her docket. Now, looking at the Ministry of Energy, Engineer Irene Pauline Batebe is a qualified PS. In fact, she is very qualified for that position. Hold on a bit. Look at Dr. Chris Bariomunsi. He's a medical doctor.
What is he doing in information?
Well, that's what I want to tell you, that the few who are there in the health ministry, we have had shortcomings.
Let me cut you there.
First, hold on. I want to ask you this.
You're going to make me miss the point.
You're not going to forget. What is it that they have not yet done that you think by adding more people who are competently basing on what they studied will add value addition to what the government is already doing?
I want you not to mix up this, okay? With all due respect, Engineer Irene Batebe is one of the best engineers we have in the land, and she's doing a very good job at the technical leadership of the ministry, because the ministries have the technical and then the political leadership.
Political wing, yeah.
Here I'm talking politics. I'm talking about the political leadership.
But you're saying they are the ones not
Now-
advising the president.
Now,
Well,
let me
yet
tell
they
you, let
all
me tell
have
you,
these
let me tell you.
competencies.
Decisions are made at political level. The science can give advice and stop somewhere, but decisions are made by politicians. Okay? So, if you see this country making wrong decisions or creating policies that don't see them being pushed, it won't work. Engineer Irene Batebe will do a science and present the things, but it is the politicians to push it with energy. So if you have a politician who understands the business, not the science, what will happen? Your country will be sold at a minimum scale.
Okay, let's
Here I'm talking about something that is deep, and I've told you there is control of power that is bigger than the presidency at certain strategic resources that this country is dealing with. So what I'm telling you is, as a country, we must have some level of clear-headedness when we're dealing with certain things. And you know, what I'm saying can be judged by time. I'm telling you, next year that first oil will not come. The company that was appointed to do the refinery is not competent. They will not handle it. I've told you this. And this is a widely known knowledge. Let me tell you for a fact. I have some privileged information. When this company was signing a deal with the president, the next day it was published in Daily Monitor and New Vision. Do you know what happened in Dubai? They were laughing at Uganda. In the business circles of people in the United Arab Emirates, they were laughing at Uganda. So what does it mean? It means there is a deliberate effort that foreign players use to manipulate and frustrate this country's progress. That's why, in moving forward, the president and the team in the helm of leadership need to understand that we must have people, not only competence-based, but people who understand the dynamics of their previous fields of study, where they're operating, and how the world operates in the political angle. You've mentioned examples of Dr. Chris Bariomonzi. Where would you place him in information national guidance? You've talked of examples of Ruth Acheng. Well, she's a medical doctor, professional. Let me finish.
Musanero.
She's a medical doctor, well positioned and all that. She's seemingly outlived that position. You can't keep somebody there for 10 years. She will outgrow her position and fail to perform. I'll give you context. She's a minister for health. Why are we still having misinformation to the president about nodding disease? Okay? They've manipulated information, frustrated international entities that wanted to do research on that field of nodding syndrome. She is the one completely frustrating nodding syndrome victims. Last time she visited them, government can barely budget for them. All the centers for nodding syndrome has been closed. They've given the president wrong information, said this thing is only in Pade, Pade, Omoro, and the Kitgum. And then the sub-county is noted. In Pade, they said it's only in Angagwar. But when I did my background research, it is in Ata, it is in Angagwar, it is far-stretched. The numbers they give far-stretched. So I'll ask you a question, and I'll tell you for a fact. When you speak to people who have been trying to do research in that field, the ministry is the one frustrating them. Why would the minister frustrate them?
But how?
White people who came to do research were deported. NGOs that were pushing for these advocacy centers, like Hope for Humanity. Kevin Okumu, she's in Gulu. She was frustrated by the ministry. They threatened her. So you ask yourself, why must a minister who is positioned to do the right job? And this goes to the president. Why do you keep somebody for all these years there? But do you want to tell me this government cannot have the capacity to support these nodding syndrome families? It tells you that there are some people who are well positioned to do the job, and the job corrupts them. And I'll tell you for a fact, Jane Ruth Acheng has failed the children and the families affected by nodding syndrome. And this is a clear fact. And I will tell you, let me tell you some situation. Okay, I don't know how this government operates at some point. And you know, I speak with passion about this situation because I've gone to the village, I've moved to these families, I've seen these kids dying painfully, and government is not doing a thing about it. You know what Beatrice Anywa did in her reign when she was in Kitgum? She threatened government. She threatened government and said, I will bring these kids to Kampala and distribute them to you. What did government do? They went to run and create the centers. Why must government operate under pressure?
Those centers were not necessarily created by the government.
No, there were the others who were created.
You know, there is a center in Tomangu that is in Kitgum district.
Created by
NGOs.
Government was supporting.
Yes.
So why couldn't government create this? Let me tell you, we had COVID-19. Everyone was focusing. The world was focusing on it. What about nodding syndrome that the world cannot give attention to? So must government operate like, this is a guerrilla movement government up to now. So perhaps they understand things at a combative level. But I think attention should be given to such children. And when you mentioned Ruth Acheng, I quickly remembered her biggest failure. Her biggest failure as a minister is failing to handle situations of nodding syndrome.
Okay. I believe that Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng is not alone in this country. She's heading a docket full of scientists. So the blame as to why the government probably has not done much may not necessarily be shouldered by her. Why
can't government declare the disease a failure on their end and invite other people to handle it?
Exactly. We are going to handle that immediately we get back from this quick break. Dear viewer, you are still on this particular show, the podcast, which comes from the Center for Policy Analysis, and it's the home for Parliament Watch. I have engineer Olanya Olenge Tonny here, and we are looking at very pertinent issues. A quick break. Afterwards, we shall resume. Thank you for watching.
You are listening to How to Lose an Election, the show where we take the back roads of political failure, dodging promises like potholes and speeding past scandals like a border weaving through jam. Stay with us as we break down the chaos.
Dear listener and viewer, welcome back from that short break. In the studio today, I have engineer Olanya Olenge Tonny for this podcast show, the second edition of it, here at the Center for Policy Analysis, the home for Parliament Watch. Ideally, we are looking at Uganda government, betting heavily on science courses to drive innovation, create jobs, and unlock economic transformation. Now, the reality tells a different story. Bright young graduates in engineering, medicine, and technology are increasingly abandoning their training to chase politics. Why is Parliament more attractive than the laboratory, where they are best knowledgeable? It is a genuine hunger. Is it like, for instance, a genuine hunger to lead or solve a society's problems, or just a shortcut to wealth, power, and status? What does this obsession with politics reveal about our broken systems of employment, creativity, and opportunity? So has the government's push for science education failed to inspire creativity and enterprise among the young people? This is what we are trying to probe in this particular show, How to Lose an Election. My name is Ochola Odonga Dominic, your host. Getting back to engineer Olanya Olenge Tonny. Now, we look at all these struggles. You as a young, ambitious Ugandan trying to come into politics to ensure that policies change to favor the people and create the necessary change that you'd love to see. What informed your decision to get to Parliament to push for this? What do you expect to achieve at the end of it all? Because the political decisions you're talking about is what drives action. What is your agenda? How will you interface with the president? How will you, because apparently the 11th Parliament has over 557 MPs. What is the problem that they cannot push some of these actions to the president for a quick and lasting solution to some of the problems that we have in Uganda?
I think for a parliament that large with 500 plus members, for you to really have the nation's attention, you must be outstanding. And I think in all my other spaces of work, in engineering, in leadership, I have been outstanding. I am a household name in this country. that when you mention my name, at least you'll not take long to find me, which is about personal branding. And I think with the ideas that I'm bringing on board, and I'm bringing very disruptive ideas. If you look at my approach to leadership, it's quite disruptive. I am not talking things that are not feasible. Firstly, I would say the size of parliament and cabinet should be properly restrained and managed. I know the president tries to balance political interests here and there, but as a country, we need to put our priorities right. We need to have this critical conversation and very honest conversation that do we really need over 80 ministers? No, I don't think we need that. Do we really need a parliament of over 500 plus MPs? I don't think we need that.
Who actually struggle to speak on a particular day?
Perfect. There are members of parliament who basically just sleep. I have the privilege to sit and work among MPs. You'd hardly see them in office. So what are they doing? Basically, a bunch of good-for-nothing people. Very good for nothing, dressed in suits as members of parliament, as ministers.
I think that would be overstating
good,
it. Not all of them.
Good for nothing, I mean,
not
what contribution do they make? If you see the legislation process, the debates and arguments that are brought on the floor of parliament, how many speak?
You can mention a few. You can have Jonathan Odu from Aruu North.
I'll tell you for a fact. I'll tell you for a fact. So even with the number of with the number as it is not discouraging to some of us to come and create serious space. And I will tell you for a fact, for you to create impact as a member of parliament, you don't only need the platform of parliament. I will tell you that. We can actually we have to take parliament away from Kampala to the grassroots. Okay.
But this is
so what does
the
it
same
mean?
institution you are going to.
Yes. What does it mean? How many MPs organize public barazas just to have a discussion on how things are moving in the country? How many members of parliament take the information from Kampala to the grassroots? Now I'll tell you a fact. Today, there's a discussion. The Uganda Cooperative Alliance is having a discussion and they're trying to formulate and push back the cooperative bank. Cooperatives are basically a big thing in Western Uganda and other areas that have seen the value.
Like in the East?
Yes. What is happening in the North? What are the MPs doing? Are they even aware that government is now in advanced stages of putting back the cooperative bank? Well, they simply come to sleep in Kampala. So we must have MPs or leaders who are disruptive, very articulate, very clear-headed, very up to speed, updated, aggressive. Because in Kampala or in parliament, you're basically trying to lobby and pick things for your people. So the issue is not just about having the numbers, but what doors are you knocking for your people? Which opportunities are you looking at? So my approach is, with or without government provisions, government has created some fairly good policies that allow investment to come in place, but are your people investment ready? So as we speak now, I have investors who are willing to buy farm producers from the community, but I cannot take them because the people are not organized. They are not investment ready. So I must organize them into things like cooperatives and SACCOs, which I am actively involved in now. I'm planning to register 1,000 SACCOs and cooperatives within Aruu North or within per day. The interest is we must go away from the VSLAs, the Bolicho, the village saving group, because government doesn't recognize it. You simply move in the village there, and you don't move far. So we must organize ourselves in structured arrangements that government recognizes that if investors come in play, you are properly structured. Microfinance Support Center is there to train the people. But who has knocked their door as a leader?
But
so,
what about the
we blame
government structures on the ground? Tonny,
government has done its best.
What about the government structures on the ground? Because we have PDM, for instance, which is being rolled out by the government. We have parish chiefs. We have community development officers. We have senior district community development officers in place. Are they not doing their work to roll out some of these programs?
Let me give you perspective. I think one of the most important offices in the district is the production department. But are they empowered? If you look at the funding they give local government, the funding is small. I think government, if we had cut the number of cabinet, cut the number of members of MPs, and then prioritize where we put our money in health, in education, in local governance, I think we would move far as a country. Okay? I told you priority areas that government put in money that is not getting back the money. Oil and gas is not getting back the money. If they had put the money in mining, the money would be back. Do you know the largest export earner for this country?
Extractives.
Yes. You know the largest export earner for this country? Gold.
Gold.
It has even beaten coffee. And still the same thing, I'll come and speak to it. structurally understanding how the extractives play and how the science and the politics works out. I will tell you. Let me finalize on the issue of how I think even outside parliament we can do things. So if I structure my people into cooperatives and circles, which is an active campaign I'm doing now, I'm telling them, as you are in your local saving group, the VSLAs, let us now transform into circles and cooperatives, where we can lobby for funds and put there. Currently, government is piloting something called Katale loan, market loan, and they've already given to a group in Arua under the push of a transformative, he calls himself the crusader of socio-economic transformation, my friend, comrade Matwa. The commissioner for Arua. He has pushed something. We know sometimes we discuss and these things are possible. Microfinance Support Center is willing to give funds, but my community don't even have serious circles in place. So I'll tell you.
When you're talking of mobilizing your people, so how many so far have you organized?
I'll tell you, so far there's 600 groups ready.
600?
600 groups ready. My target is to have at least 10 groups per parish. So when we have them structured, we can then bring investors. We can then renegotiate contracts. People like Mukwano going to buy sunflower from the community, charging them, paying low fees. We can definitely push them out. We tell Mukwano, if this is what you can, if you cannot do this, you're manipulating the people, you are underpaying them. You can then renegotiate these contracts better. Why? Because they're structured. These people come and buy symptom, the produce from the garden. We will have it structured and phased out. Then you can have people who are willing to buy from Dubai. You have investors coming in. They will say they want to buy chili. We want to buy sweet potatoes. We want to buy this our local boy here. They want to buy, but we are not structured. Okay? There are investors who are willing to bring cold fridge trucks that move around in the community every 2 weeks to pick the green vegetables. But we are not organized. So when we organize our people, this does not require parliament. This only requires me to have the people's mandate to push it. And I'm ready in the process because I'm now currently in the process of getting them investment ready. When we have that in place, it is easy to push things. Even when we're introducing new cash crops or high value crops, you'd wonder why actually is not growing crops like garlic, yet it is high value. We're not growing vanilla, yet it is high value. We're not growing matoke. Why? Who put this in our head? So we must reconfigure the mindset of the people. So among the things that I'm talking in my process of campaigning, I am trying to work on the mindset of the people because how we think is a problem. And some of this I told you, it's about colonial problems. They introduced crops like tobacco and cotton, the whites. But is it structurally possible? Is it financially viable for our people at this point? No. In Acholi, we have a saying that lafu petu, lafu goma goma, to translate loosely that a farmer doesn't break, he simply bends. But you see the situation, the fatigue, the value for money for the crops. So we need to change. We need to change how we go for farming. We have to go for climate. We have to go for high value crops. We have to go for a strategic arrangement on the entire agricultural value chain. Where is the market? How do we farm? Are we organized? How do we... Everything must be properly structured. And I will tell you, the land that we have in the north, which is not being put to proper use, is because the leadership in place kept on looking big, yet the thing was, the solution is just lying with them there.
Great. Tony, ahead of 2026, we see almost 36 candidates who have picked nomination fees and have already returned their forms to the Electoral Commission after being signed by the voters. If 36 people are ready to contest for the highest position in the country, what does this tell? Why is leadership becoming so much attractive to so many people than the ideas that you have just been raising here, that you can even organize people, change their mind, inspire them to do things that can actually generate more money instead of going into politics? So my question to you is, what is it that is attracting so many people into leadership, in that even the people who are contesting are even becoming more and more than the voters who should be voting? What is it that people are looking for in leadership? Is it the urge to serve the people, or it is simply an organized movement to go and plunder and loot state resources?
Basically, before I even answer that, many people who go into leadership don't even understand why they go to leadership. Me, leadership is not a do or die. Whatever I am pushing for now, I will push it even beyond elections. Among the things we're pushing for is talent identification and promotion. Sports, football as a baseline start. And I'll tell you for a fact, these young people who didn't get the privilege to go to school or to even study or have a better opportunity because of the war in the north cannot be blamed and called a go, yet we can venture into their interest. We need to listen to what they want to hear, what they can do better. And I realized that sports is one of the things. And we're putting up a sports academy. That did not even require a big thing to be done. Somebody who was passionate about understanding the young people could have done it. That's why I said majority of the people in leadership don't understand why they are there. I'll tell you for a fact. Parliament, people are voted in office and they come and create bogus taxes, implicating and worsening the life of the local people. And I think most of the times the president is misinformed. I'll tell you for a fact. One of the largest export earners for this country is gold, okay? And if you see the tax and how much money government is getting from gold, you will cry. I'll give you basic statistics. Number one, Uganda has no tax on gold. You can imagine. The largest export earner. As we speak, Uganda has pushed, if you look at the data, beyond 50 tons of gold. 1 kilo, that is 50,000 tons. That is 50,000 kilos of gold. I think it's 55 going to, and this is just what is recorded at the customs in Entebbe. What is not recorded and smuggled is a lot more. Perhaps in 100, just say 100 tons of gold has moved by now. I'll give you, I want you to pick the numbers. That is 100,000 kilos. Multiplied by the current value of gold, 1 kilo on the world market, which is 117,000. That is in
That
trillions.
is 100.
If you convert it to shillings, it is in trillions. Gold alone can finance this country's economy and run its economy properly if it had been structured well. I'll tell you.
A kilo of gold goes for USD
117,000 US dollars.
Okay, that's about 360
million plus. Now you calculate with 100,000. So you see the figures. It is in trillions of shillings and billions of dollars if you leave it in dollars. Now, my context is this. Why do you have MPs who don't understand how the country is running? When they're putting taxes, they're putting it on our alcohol, on our maize, on our airtime, on data, on things that just don't add up. But if they had put tax on gold, do you know how much government gets from 1 kilo of gold? Government does not charge tax. Government does not charge royalty on gold. Royalty is on the other minerals, but why not gold? Government is charging $200 for every kilo of gold. You are charging $200 of the value of something about 120,000. You're only picking $200.
But
so let me tell you this. Do you know why? Do you know why that happened? Because at a technical level in the ministry, they would have told the president the right thing. The political decision makers to push it are not understanding it. I'll tell you. Listen,
but Engineer Tonny,
listen.
For 36 years that
just
the president has been
as an export levy
in power, do you want to tell the country that he's being misinformed?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
With 100 plus advisors, ministers, cabinet meetings every Monday.
Let me give you an example. Somebody said, a member of parliament one time said that the president fears Ugandans to be rich. So then you'd ask yourself, why would he push efforts like Emyoga, PDM, blah, blah, blah. I think he has this. I think this old man with a heart has some good interest for this country. And he has a very good heart for this country. He's being failed by the system. When you see General Mose complaining about the system, Mose is in the innermost sanctum. Innermost sanctum. When he is complaining about the system is crooked. There are people who feel they're too used to President Museveni.
Who should correct the system?
Listen up. There are people who feel they're too used to President Museveni. I'll tell you for a fact. Do you know when the Ministry of Energy was pushing for the $200? They were even frustrating officials within the ministry to talk to the president about pushing for a tax on gold. Even that $200 that they placed on it, it was a real fight. So who are these people who run the shoddy, the deep state and can frustrate a whole ministry? Who is trying to say, government, understand this. Even if you had placed a tax or whatever you would call it, $10,000 on every kilo of gold, government, the investors who are exporting gold would pay for it. Do you know how much government would earn? Every month, government would not need to put pressure, on Kasita, on these people who are running
the streets of Kampala,
trying to fend life. You see the situation with traders downtown. Government would not need to go through that. Okay? URA is simply implementing what Parliament pushes. So then the issue is, there is a structural problem. There's a psychological warfare that Parliament needs to understand, that they are putting pressure on citizens, okay? And I'll tell you for a fact, majority of the current sitting MPs will lose elections, including those who are holding the NRM flag. Majority of the sitting MPs, including those holding the NRM flag, will lose elections. Why? Because the issues that they present does not resonate with the common man.
And probably
get this right.
Look at the primary elections that we have had.
Majority lost the primary.
The kingpins actually lost.
The kingpins lost. Even those who beat the kingpins will lose. Why? And I'll tell you, don't misunderstand this. The president, Ugandans have understood the president at a very good level. That this old man seems to have good ideas for the people. And that's why, even if you have 36 people contesting against President Museveni, he will win. He will win, and I'll tell you, I'll mobilize for him. I've realized that the president could not be the real problem in this country. And I think he's not the problem. The problem is the system around the presidency. The system around the presidency, in this case, look at how Parliament operates. Okay? Parliament is basically a house of deal cutting. So we must come with a disruptive approach to shake things up.
Engineer Tonny, this is where I tend to...
You can't have a parliament that is fixing.
To disagree with you a little.
You've been covering parliament. They fix things that are not part of the budget. The president has been pushing back the budget, not so. Why? Because people are putting deals there.
Look at it this way. I would want to think that the president, looking at what happens in this country, there's nothing that can happen and the president cannot really be aware of. A case in point, let's talk about security. You know very well that you can do any other thing in Uganda, but you can never tamper with the security system in this country.
Yeah.
Now, this brings me to the same thing that the president has always organized what we call regional tours. He interfaces with the people, he interacts with people. There are moments when the president sits by the roadside. So who is this person who is trying to frustrate the president and misadvise the president not to implement what is benefiting the country?
It is even very disheartening. If you speak to other citizens of other countries, they laugh at President Museveni like nothing. You know why? They despise him. But this is a man who is selfless. He's offering himself to go and morale boost somebody who has two gods. Well, it looks full of humor and funny. But I think he's trying to demonstrate something. At his age, 81 plus, he's trying to show something to Ugandans that it is possible. Why I say, you see, the biggest problem that the NRM government has is not from the outside. It's not Bobby Wine, it's not Besigye, whatever. It is internal. It is internal. Who are the biggest thieves? Is Besigye stealing government funds? Is Bobby Wine stealing government funds? It is being done from internal. Now, it's even wrong for the president to be moving around the country to do PDM talks, guide people here and there. You know why? Because the structures that are supposed to do that at the district level, like the production office, the production office has not been given priority. So if you had empowered the local government system, the production officers had the right budget, okay? I'll tell you for a fact, things would have been moving better. The president would not need to go to district by district, village by village to talk to PDM beneficiaries. In my context, PDM as a program was not done in the best interest, because I'll tell you for a fact, there are districts that learned about the PDM project, and this is how, let me tell you how people operate around the president. There is now a professor seated creating a project. Listen, creating a project. They will create a project, come with a proper slideshow, present it to the president. And this is an old man who thinks Uganda should have money. Ugandans should have money in the pocket. The man will bless the project. Same way with Imyoga. Oh, skilling project. Oh, now PDM. I think PDM, I think one of the biggest, not to fight government program, but I'll tell you, this is my opinion. I may be wrong about it. And if I'm wrong, I apologize to the nation. PDM is one of the biggest scams in this country. You know why? Tell me how many people practically benefited from PDM. Many got the 1 million. Many used it in other things. They didn't put in the enterprise. Everyone, almost 90% of the people that they presented to the president, that these are beneficiaries of PDM, this is PDM success, were basically decoys, were basically choreographed to make the man impressed. If I challenge the intelligence authority, the intelligence network of this country, the intelligence community, do your soul searching, you'll find out exactly that the person who is being told that, who is presented on media that has now started with 1 cow, now has 3, is not even the owner of the cow. In the villages, I've seen these things. So where is the intelligence giving? What is the intelligence telling the president? If they think I'm lying, let them fact check that. So the issue is this. The issue is there are people around the president who have decided to use the platform and privilege they have to misinform the president, to manipulate government systems, to loot.
Could it be now that the president has, come to his senses? Because recently he made a statement that, you know what, the system is dead. Corruption has reached State House. People even now pay to see the president.
So whatever I'm saying, the president is also complaining like me. Okay? So why the president is complaining is, the president is encouraging young people like us and saying, my son Olenge, come and save me. This thing is tiring me. So I am coming to save the president from this corruption. Because me, I'm coming with a disruptive approach. And there's so many young leaders coming up, by the way. I'll tell you for a fact. Very many young people are coming into leadership. And I will encourage them to come with a disruptive approach. That we don't overburden government, but we bring in new ideas that can channel in money. If we had invested the right way, let me give you context. Poured money into mining, okay? The money we would get from mining through the taxes, through the revenues, the royalties, and what we'll charge for the exports. Currently, gold is the biggest export earner for this government. But it is even structurally wrong and strategically wrong for government to allow gold to leave Uganda, because that is money leaving your country. We should have gone to pick this gold and put it in central banks. You don't allow gold to leave your country.
Actually, that's why there is value addition apparently, right?
No, that's even wrong. Do you know why the shilling is stabilizing?
No.
Because so many investors are pouring into Uganda. They're pouring money. These days, when you go to night hangouts, you see kids paying with the dollar. The money, the circulation of dollar in the economy outside what Bank of Uganda controls is more. So what does it mean? It means if government had prioritized the mining sector, pumped in more money there, that money would be recuperated back and then put into other sectors like agriculture, like health, like education, and local government. Because that's where the heart of the government is.
Engineer Tony Olanya Olenge Tonny, thank you so much for your time. Time is not on our side. Dear viewer, we appreciate you so much for watching this episode, How to Lose an Election, which is produced by the Center for Policy Analysis, home to Parliament Watch. My name is Ochoro Donga Dominic. In case you have any feedback or any comments you'd like to reach us here, check on our YouTube channels and be able to comment and like this particular episode. I want to give you just a minute. If you had a chance to meet the president right away, within just 2 minutes, what would be your message to the president that can change the trajectory of this country, politically, socially, and economically?
The president should listen to his son. His son has been telling him things are bad, and he should know that things are bad. We also see the things are bad. When somebody at the innermost sanctum is crying out like that, I don't think he should think it's a joke. That's one. Two, the president should look at the critical number in this country, which are young people. Prioritize them. Have constant conversation with these young people. Because in the event that this country is going into flames, it is the young people who will be weaponized. So you must have the young people so dear to you. Have them as close as possible. I would think the president should spend more time with the young people and understand the issues of the young people directly, not through MPs, not through ministers who are seemingly looking for their selfish interest. I think if the president concentrates and focuses on understanding the young people, so much will be done. The potential of this country in production is with the young people. Let's put it into right use, put the aspect of sports into right use, agriculture, all those are for the young people. Prioritize them.
Thank you so much, Engineer Olanya Olenge Tonny. And I'm very certain that the president has got so many platforms where he engages the young people. That's why he has always been engaging them on X Space. He has always been engaging them on Facebook. And I'm sure all digital platforms where the president, even TikTok, these are all platforms that the president, I think, has been engaging the young people and getting feedback from them. And for today, I would like to thank you so much for watching this particular episode, How to Lose an Election. Until then, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to How to Lose an Election. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with that friend who thinks politics is just about slogans and handshakes. Until next time, remember, political survival is like a border ride, full of bumps, tight corners, and the occasional broken promise. You can listen to the latest episode on YouTube and all other podcast streaming platforms.